Great question here from Jeremy about the Penn State game. My question is this: looking at the disparity between their schedules leading up to the whiteout and having seen in the Rose Bowl the effect rust can have on a great team when playing equal competition coming in hot, are you still expecting a loss there? Because honestly, I'm reevaluating it myself. Short answer to your question is yes. Am I going to give you a one-word answer and say, there, your question was on the show, I answered it, I checked the box? Absolutely, positively not. Because if I didn't explain myself, I wouldn't be very good at my job. And at this point, with where we're at and how many of you I know listen, which I'm very grateful for, I think I'm decently all right at this at the very least. And that's what I strive for, to be decently all right. Except for golf, I strive to be better than that. So, the rust factor that you mentioned. Oregon played a game on December 7th in Indianapolis against Penn State. They did not play another football game until January 1st. That is a lot different than a bye week. A bye week, historically, I think is pretty advantageous. Great coaches in the NFL and college coming off of byes, really good. Last year, I watched a bunch of teams with great coaches come off of the long multi-week layoff and be rusty. I watched Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs not get off to a great start against Notre Dame. I know Kirby's a great coach. I watched Oregon get down big against Ohio State. I know Dan Lanning's a great coach. I watched Kenny Dillingham and Arizona State, who darn near should have beaten Texas. They were trailing at the half. They were down 14-3 in the blink of an eye. I know Dillingham's a great coach. So the 3-week time period is quite a while. Teams that have that layoff are not going to go, they're not going to lose forever in that playoff format against a team that's gotten, a home game the week prior. But, the bye for Penn State, I think is part of the advantage that they have in that game. They have several. They have a more experienced roster than Oregon, more experienced quarterback. They're at home. Oregon's got to make a long trip. Jim Knowles, the last time Oregon went against him, it was an 8-point half and a 21-point game overall. It didn't go particularly well, and that was with a veteran quarterback. And so there are a lot of things working in Penn State's favor. I don't think that them having a bye is a disadvantage whatsoever. I think that gives them extra time. And frankly, the soft part of their schedule, which is their first 3 games before the bye and then the Oregon game, I think them being at home will help them shake off the rust a little bit. We saw that in the playoff games. I think that when you have your home crowd and you get that major juice, then you can shake it off a little bit faster. But I think in those 3 games, Penn State is going to be working on stuff to almost get ready for Oregon. And I think they're going to save some stuff for Oregon. Not that the Ducks won't do the same for Penn State. I expect them to. They can't, kind of play with their food nearly as much as Penn State can. They have 3 teams who they're going to be favored by 30 or more points in every single game. Oregon's got to play a road game at 9 a.m. Pacific time at Northwestern, who's not great, but hey, that could get weird. Oklahoma State, really good program historically. Oregon State, improved team. Montana State, top 2 FCS in the preseason. So I think Oregon will certainly be more battle tested. That I do like that element for Oregon, to be sure. But I don't think that one bye week results in rust. I think that is usually just the rest. But, will they have had it? Penn State, here's the optimism I have. Penn State will not have had a team that could metaphorically punch them in the mouth the way Oregon can. They won't have played a team like that yet. One of my biggest keys, I can tell you right now, get off to a hot start. To take the crowd out of it and also to just kind of shock Penn State into, whoa, we're hey, we're here. We got to match the physicality level. Oregon's got to come out. I've mentioned this before. I continue to feel strongly about it. Utah 2023 went into a hostile environment against a great defense, got the ball first, marched down the field and scored. Set the tone, and it was off to the races from there. That's what Oregon needs. I think that's a game where Dan Lanning, again, will want to take the ball. I think he'll want to take the ball. Do I think Oregon can win? Yes. Do I expect them to? No. I do not. Not because I don't think Oregon's good. I just really respect Penn State. I really do. I believe in Penn State for this year. I'm that kind of guy, but yeah, I think the game. I get more excited for that game as time goes on, like one at a time. Let's go one at a time. But in the back of my mind, man, Oregon playing. I can't wait to see what uniforms they roll out for that game and the whiteout. It's going to be one of the biggest spectacles in college football all season, and it might be college game day as well. So I love all of that. Love the idea of all of that. But hope that answers your question. Monica says, "Hello, Spencer. I always enjoy your shows with Brian. I do too. For Kenyon Sadiq and others, would it not benefit them to play through their senior years with Oregon to refine what they do? I understand NFL and money, but we had so many guys like Bo Nix, Casey Rogers who played through their senior years, and our team was better for it, and their draft stocks usually improved as well. Do the coaches encourage them to stay so the team can grow as a unit? I'd love to see Mateo and Kenyon and others continue to play. I understand no one can make them stay, but I sure think it would benefit them as well as the team/program as a whole." Monica, great spelling on program. P-R-O-G-R-U-M. That's the way Lanning pronounces it, so I'm pretty sure that's how it's spelled, obviously. To answer one part of your question, yes, coaches are always trying to do anything and everything to get talented players to stay. I can guarantee that the Oregon staff tried to talk to Josh Connerly about, hey, what would it take for you to stay? And for some guys that are, first round picks like Connerly, yeah, you can't always change you usually can't change their minds when they're that high of a prospect. Mateo's interesting because somehow in this offseason, I actually feel like his draft stock has softened a little bit. I was talking to Roman Tomashoff of Locked On Huskies about this recently. There are some draft services that have him, or analysts that have him as like not even one of the top 5 edge players in the draft, because he needs to get a little better against the run. Maybe that's a selling point. And you know what? If it gets him back to Oregon for a 4th season and he becomes a more complete player, yeah, I would absolutely love that. And I think it can be really beneficial for players to come back. It depends on the situation. Some guys, like Connerly, had another gear of development, but his stock was so high because of the Penn State game. That calculation, I don't think was worth the injury risk, which is ultimately what these guys are weighing. Is if I come back, and of course, I think all these guys love playing for Oregon and they're not in a hurry to get out the door. It's just you have the opportunity of a lifetime. You have to go out there and take it. But I think Mateo coming back is, I don't think either one of these guys coming back is likely, Mateo and Kenyon Sadiq. I think either one's possible. There's so many weapons for this Oregon offense, like I was talking about earlier. Maybe Sadiq only has 500-600 yards and he gets a 3rd round grade. Well, physically, he's a 2nd round talent. Maybe first. Being drafted as a tight end in the 1st round's tough. But if anybody could do it, Sadiq could. There were 2 tight ends in the 1st round last year with Tyler Warren from Penn State and Colston Loveland from Michigan. So, Brock Bowers is taken in the top 10. Yeah, I mean, there will be an argument. It depends on how the season goes. It really depends on how these guys perform, whether or not they take the big steps forward that they need to. For Mateo, that's being better against the run. For Sadiq, that's being a number 1 tight end. If Sadiq goes out and has 700 to 800 yards in the air and 8 to 10 touchdowns, runs for a couple touchdowns and 100 yards, on fly sweeps, and he makes a couple highlight hurdles again, yeah, okay, he's gone. Like that, people will just draft the physical traits. But, look at a guy like Terrence Ferguson, Sadiq's predecessor. He could have gone to the NFL the year before very easily. He would have been drafted. Would he have been taken in the 2nd round where the Rams took him after this past year? Probably not. I don't think he would have fallen past the 3rd because he was mostly the same guy. But you can come back and elevate your stock. Marcus Mariota would not have been the number 2 pick. He would have been a 1st round pick at quarterback, but he was coming off a 2013 season, his 3rd of college football, 2nd starting, where he had some knee troubles and wasn't fully healthy. Then he looked healthy in the bowl game against Texas, and he thought, oh, well, that's something. And if he is back to that, then yeah, he's a 1st round pick, but he comes back, he wins the Heisman, goes to the national championship game, and he's the number 2 overall pick. So yeah, there's always a benefit of some level. Well, not always. There's often a benefit to come back to college, get a little bit better, help Oregon win. I mean, you just had guys like Terrence Ferguson and Jeff Bossa amongst others, come back for last season to try to make a push for it. Bryce Betcher's back this season to try to do it again. And, hopefully it goes better in the postseason than it did last year. But yeah, those guys are going to have decisions to make, but I'm not planning them. If you ask me to project Oregon's roster or two deep on either side of the ball next year, would I include them? No. But is there a 0% chance? No. Depends on what happens.